hosting another ZorZoom interview. And this week we are featuring one of our favorite brands, Pool Scouts. So I will get right to it.
All right. So thank you both for joining today. I guess if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about Pool Scouts. Kind of give us your 30-second elevator speech, so to speak.
Well, with Pool Scouts, we are Perfect Pools Scouts Honor. So we provide a service for continued cleaning and maintenance for pools, in-ground pools, of course, and working with properties to be able to just make sure that their pool environment is on the up and up, taking care of any level of service that they need on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis, ensuring that their pools are clean, maintained well, chemicals and levels are all in order. Additionally, we'll do filter cleanings, just overall maintenance. And then we've added on pool openings, pool closings, hot tub demands wherever it's necessary in seasonal markets. And then we also can make sure that the environment itself is taken care of. So we'll do pool fencing as well. So overall, making sure that you don't have to take care of any of that. We're basically providing a service for household owners, homeowners, excuse me, to be able to enjoy their pool on the weekend and not have to do a single thing for it.
I gotcha.
So
Okay.
I was unaware about the fencing. Is that like the pool safety fences, or is that like actual, fencing around the property?
Yeah,
no, for the pools. Go ahead, Dave.
No, yeah, 100%. So where that really came is that we really were focusing on Pool Scouts, of course, started in Virginia Beach by Buzz Franchise Brands, same company originally started Mosquito Joe. So very, very similar models, different service, similar models. Really, we're focused on the reoccurring weekly, bi-monthly, monthly. We've got a very high net promoter score, high 70s. So customers love us. So why not move into pool liners, pool safety, pool covers? So we've really become the go-to expert there. And I tell you, the numbers show, because since we've added those expanded services, like Rita was talking about, average customer $1,100 per year, up to over $1,600 per year because of those expanded services. So we've really kind of become an A to Z, anything to do with your backyard and pool. Now we're not going to dig earth to get to a PVC pipe because it's cracked, but we're going to know contractors that could do that. Scratch your back, they'll scratch ours.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we
okay.
become your one-stop shop there.
Yep.
So are these new numbers reflected in the new item 19? I haven't had, they are awesome. Okay, well, I'm excited to take a look at that. Well, tell us about the territory. I know, just because I've presented your brand several times, that it's a very specific territory. Can you just kind of dive into that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So we obviously are looking to be able to work with homeowners that have an in-ground pool. So for us, a territory that will really be able to provide an opportunity for scalability and growth is going to be 10,000 households with in-ground pools that have an income of 100,000. We know that then that means they have, of course, the opportunity of being able to pay for the services that are necessary. And that gives you more than enough, households to be able to get out to market and service within that space.
And then I might have missed it when you were talking a second ago, but do you service commercial pools or only residential?
Dave, you want to?
Yeah, the bulk of what we do is going to be on the residential, the reoccurring revenue. We may have some commercial accounts, which is mostly going to be maybe a homeowners association that has a community pool. It's considered commercial, but really not. It's almost like a big, well, everybody's backyard, they share one pool. But yeah, we've really focused on the residential, the reoccurring revenue. I mean, a commercial pool, you got to check the chemicals twice a day. That's just, there's not enough revenue in that. So we focus on residential.
And so you have mentioned the reoccurring revenue a couple of times. So kind of talk us through what that model looks like. Are you charging a monthly fee, or is it just because you're going out on a weekly basis? Like how does the reoccurring model work?
Okay, well, I'll let you take that away since you're a numbers guy.
if you look at, and it really depends on the market. So we operate in seasonal markets, we operate in year-round markets. We'll pick on a warm weather market, Texas. which we've got a great presence. I think we're the largest full service company in DFW. They're going to get their pools done normally weekly, bi-monthly, or monthly. It really depends on the season. So during the summer, might be once a week. Now, if they go to bi-monthly, because it's the off season, it's a longer visit. So like Rita mentioned, our tagline, Perfect Pool Scouts Honor, we deliver that on every visit. So if we're there for once a week, 15 to 20 minutes, we're going to make sure, of course, we clean the pool, scrape the sides, but also do the vacuuming. We bring out a hammerhead or a riptide poolside to vacuum the pools. If we're there twice a month, it's a longer visit. It's going to be 20 to 30 minutes. We're there once a month, almost 45 to an hour, and then we bill accordingly. Because one thing you can't prevent is gravity, and things still drop to the bottom of the pool. Got to get them cleaned, and not every sweeper is going to catch all that stuff. So we deliver Perfect Pool Scouts Honor, whether it be weekly, bi-monthly, or monthly, and we bill accordingly.
Got it. Okay, so it's not a regular reoccurring charge. It's depending upon the service that's being provided.
Yeah, our technology will actually show a before picture and after picture, a chemical reading, and a billing for that actual visit that the customer could access within the portal. So every visit might be a little bit different. It could require, because you've got to keep your pool balanced. If your pool gets out of balance, then you get algae blooms. And there's actually a term, I never knew this existed in the pool business. It's called from green to clean. If you have a green pool, it takes a little while to turn it blue again. So you got to make sure you're maintaining that. We have chemical readers on site that do that, tell exactly what we need to add to that pool, and then making notes that it could be, because once again, we're going to be servicing A to Z on that pool. Could be your bearings making a noise in your pump. We might need to get that fixed in a couple of weeks. So keeping the customer in the know, keeping their pool. Well, I'm going to say it again. Perfect Pool Scouts.
Okay. All right. Well, how do you support or help your franchise owners to obtain clients? Talk to us about the marketing efforts.
Oh, so one of the many great benefits of being under the parentage of Buzz Franchise Brands is the fact that we provide a high level of marketing support. So much of it is done in-house as well. It's one of our shared services that we offer across all of our different franchises. So with that, we're going to take a lot of different routes. We're going to obviously do a lot of digital marketing. It's a space that everyone lives in, and it's a demand. So we provide our franchise owners with obviously a web portal, a landing page for all of their individual Pool Scouts sites, in addition to content and media and engagement for social media pages, because we live in an era where people like real-time data and information. They don't want to just see what the website's providing, but they also want to know what are the Google reviews and what are they being tagged in. Not to mention the way that helps with local community groups like Facebook groups, neighborhood pages. So we'll do a lot to be able to provide them with content and support in the digital realm, and then direct mailers, getting out to the community, making sure people know we're here, we're available, we're able to help them. So that's also another really proactive measure. And then assisting them with identifying really strong local marketing objectives to be able to get in front of the households and partner with people. For example, to Dave's point earlier, we make a lot of vendor relationships and partnerships come up so that we can become the portal for that homeowner. They don't have to talk to us, Bob and Joe, whenever they need to get some services done. We can basically partner up and get all of that for them easily. So a lot of that is going to help in identifying the customer base that they're going to work with.
Okay.
And so you've touched on this, but you guys are part of the Buzz Franchise Brands. And so can you just talk a little bit about some of those additional benefits by being part of this larger umbrella?
Yeah, so Buzz Franchise Brands, I think, and like Rita said, one of the biggest key differentiators for all the brands is having what we call the shared service team, which is going to be marketing, back-end analytics, and training. So over 15 full-time staff members, the bulk of them are in marketing. So it's almost like having an in-house marketing agency, except what does a marketing agency do? You give them 100% of your money, 70% goes into your market, they retain 30 for their services. That's not us. We're going to make ours in royalties. So it's a vested interest. And another point is every one of the brands, including Pool Scouts, a high percentage of the initial investment is a set spend for marketing. So we have owners that are coming in well capitalized and in a position to get to the all important cash flow positive. So back to Buzz shared service platform that supports all of our brands, marketing, back end analytics, and training to get them open. We awarded 100 franchises last year and brought in 25 full-time staff members, corporate professionals to keep ahead of that growth. That's the power of Buzz.
Oh, okay, awesome. I'm taking notes. I'm learning things that I didn't know as well. So, all right. So, brick and mortar, is that needed?
No, we are not a concept that requires a brick and mortar. We're not selling any materials, any chemicals, or any products. So for a franchise owner, that obviously takes away an enormous investment, or a portion of the investment, I should say, and instead allows them to really focus on, their customer base and managing it. What they will need to have is maybe a small facility. It could be a storage unit or a location that allows them to store chemicals, products, and in some cases keep their vehicles parked overnight as well. Not every community allows for a homeowner to have a commercialized van outside. And so for us, the model is going to consist of a facility to be able to keep those products. And then on that note, also a vehicle startup. That's the road is the office. Every pool that they're servicing is the office that your technician goes to. And this leans into the home base of the layout of the business as well, and that lifestyle friendly factor. This is considered a home-based startup, because if you are an owner and operator, much of what you're doing on the back end, a lot of the operational support, and day-to-day bits that go into it, invoicing, billing, scheduling, routing, etc., that can be done from the comfort of your own home. So these are things that definitely are part of, to Dave's point, that lower investment you'll come in with.
Okay.
And so how many employees, vans do you recommend your franchisees start with?
So we recommend that you kick off with, you can easily kick off with 1 or 2 vans, a technician per vehicle. If you have more difficult jobs, some of the pool lining, some of those green cleans, as Dave mentioned, some of those more restorative repairs or initial jobs, they might be a 2-person kind of job or task to take on. But you can easily, especially if you're an owner or operator and you're kicking off with the business yourself and maybe one other tech, each individually with a vehicle. I mean, it's really going to come down to the manner in which you're starting it. Obviously, if you're going to have a more manager run concept, where the manager is also participating in some of the cleaning, and then you have an additional technician similarly. Dave, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Going to be the goal is scalability. So we could start out with 1 vehicle, keep the initial investment on the low end, and then the keys in the analytics. Once we get to about 80-90% efficiency within that 1 vehicle, and we've got routing efficiency software, because the goal in any service-based business is to drive less, because we'll make more. Once we get to those metrics, the numbers will tell us when it's time to roll out that 2nd and 3rd and 4th vehicle. So scale accordingly, keep the initial investment on the low end, get operating in the black, because I think we all know good things happen when we operate in the black.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
don't get fancy, get smart. That's how we say it.
Yeah.
And is it disclosed in item 19 roughly how many accounts or customers are needed to hit that black?
Yeah, that's a variable, right? It really depends on how it's set up. So it's cash flow positive. There's not going to be in our item 19 on how many it takes to get there. We'll get there when we validate with owners, because every owner might set it up differently. They might set it up where they're paying themselves a little salary up front. So there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of variables that go into what makes cash flow positive. I can tell you that in our corporate location, the one we originally started, 2016, almost started an identical way that we started Mosquito Joe. With Mosquito Joe, it was 23. It was a pest control company that we purchased of 23 customers, a vehicle and a technician. With Pool Scouts, it was a service arm of a pool manufacturing company of 31 customers, of 2 vehicles and a technician, and we reverse engineered the model. So a lot of similarities carried over, like the routing efficiency, Service Finder, the back-end analytics, Tableau, to look at the conversion rates. So it's a very similar model. But point being is that Pool Scouts, 2 territories, 1.3 million top end revenue. Great margins dripping to the bottom, almost 17%. This is in our item 19, and that includes a general manager. Now, me bringing up all these numbers, Virginia Beach 1 only has a 6% market share. We only service 6% of the available pools in that territory. And to Rita's point, we design territories that are conducive to be top performers, single family, in-ground pools, income over 100,000. Now, we may still service under that economic threshold, but that's not going to be a target for our direct mail. So it doesn't take a lot of customers within a territory to have a very profitable business.
Just need a small piece of the pie that's out there, right?
And I tell you, Buzz looks at that. We look at market systems, or excuse me, industries and brands and services that are fragmented, because we know the demand's there. What's our goal? Capture market share. And that's done with great content in front of a captive audience, followed by great analytics. We're going to follow the map in every territory we launch.
Okay. Well, can you describe who you're looking for? Who's your ideal franchisee?
I love Dave's PhD analysis. Why don't you tell them that one? Because it's a good one.
PhDs, they're personable. They got to be personable, because this is definitely a customer service business, right? Even though we're starting out, and even with the technicians, they need to be personable. Now, the key also here is to incentivize those technicians based on growth. But PhDs, personal, hungry, and determined or driven is what we look for. I tell you, they come from all walks of life. It's a very, well, as you know, a good franchise should be about painting by numbers. You know, use the right color in the right box, you'll end up with your picture. But really, I'd say the ideal owner, the ideal candidate is one could follow a proven system, a proven model, and then get engaged in your community. Yes, Pool Scouts has a great process for customer acquisition with direct mail, digital, Google AdWords, pay-per-click, social media. The multiplier is engaged in the community, and owners that do that truly hit that other gear. Matter of fact, the rookie of the year last year, Ron Hicks, Huntsville, Alabama, retired military Army, worked for the Department of Defense, originally started Pool Scouts as a semi-absentee. Executive manager run model, and now has gotten to the point where he's left the Department of Defense, but he wants to make a difference. And it's not just cleaning pools, it's making sure people are safe around pools, because unfortunately water related accidents. So he's really embraced that level. As a matter of fact, all of our owners give back to what's called Hope Floats. It's a National Anti-Drowning Alliance. So make a difference in the community is the other gear. But it's not one size fits all. It's owners from all walks of life follow a proven system.
And I will add to that by saying we have a lot of female owner operators as well. So this is not something where it's just cookie cutter, one version or another. You know, as Dave said, we have a lot of veterans, we have a lot of women-owned business, you know, so people from all different areas, different markets. You know, there's no seasonality in this. Most people have that assumption. Oh, it's only Florida or only California, you know, coastal towns, or that's not the case. We have some really strong operators in the northern, you know, area, northern states, Midwest, Northeast. So where they come from, whether it's background or location, that doesn't matter. It's having personality, desire to be able to engage in their community, do something that is serviceable, and certainly, of course, follow a system. That's the most important part, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, to that point, we have one of our female clients recently moved forward with you guys and just got launched. So definitely.
That's right, in South Carolina.
Yep.
Good stuff.
So does an owner need to come, you know, to the table with any experience with pool maintenance or anything, you know, around pools, or is that all done through training?
Some don't even own a pool, so that there is no need to have that experience. Yeah, well, Well, funny enough, they don't know how to swim either. That doesn't need to be a requirement in this. Again, for us, we created a model, we created a structure, we really honed in on what's necessary, not only for the structure of the business, but also we keep a close eye on the demand, on what the market is needing it. So all of that is going to be trained. You go through business management and technical training. And we have so many different resources to not only provide our franchise owners with the training that they need and the guidance and continual support with technical coaching, with business coaching, but we also have all of the resources that they're going to need to ensure that their technicians that they hire have the videos, the modules, all of the lessons that they need to not only learn online, but then of course go and shadow as well. So really they're set for whatever they need, A through Z, one-stop shop, turnkey. Whatever phrase you want to use, we're definitely ensuring that we're providing that, as any good franchisor should. You don't need to be somebody that knows about the business, and in some cases might be better that you didn't own a pool business, because you're
Don't
coming
have to
in with
unlearn the wrong
preconceptions.
way. Yeah.
Exactly, you're coming in with some preconceptions.
So your owners that are in more of the seasonal markets, what do they do in the off season?
So if I could add to that, because
Yeah.
it's like you said, we're in some of the cold weather. Hartford, Connecticut. It doesn't get much colder than Hartford. So now the benefit here in seasonal markets where it gets cold is a little bit different than Florida, where I'm at in Thomasville, Georgia. We leave our pools open year round. We might not use them in February or December, but they're open and they're running, they're filtering. You can't do that in a seasonal market. You have to get your pool closed. You have to get the lines blown out. So pool openings and pool closings, we call them the bookends of business. They're normally very high ticket items. They're a little bit higher than just your weekly. So owners in a seasonal market are doing a full year of revenue in 7 or 8 months. And what they do in the off season, whatever they want. Charlie does woodworking. He likes to, yes, he will take the winters off and go and build some tables, whatever he does in his workshop. It's heated, but there's also other owners that do other businesses and bring in other things that they could do in the off season. But owners in a cold weather market are doing a lot of revenue in a short amount of time, which is almost equal to a full year in warm weather markets.
Do they typically lay off, if they do nothing, do they typically lay off their employees or just and are they able to retain those same employees back? How does that work?
Yeah, seasonal employees, normally they're going to be able to retain their lead technician, because there is going to be work to do during the off season. It could be heated pools that we're servicing, maybe a spa. It could be a pool cover, because the snow fell in and needs to be recovered. So there will be some work during the seasons. We've had a couple owners retain some of their key staff members by treating it almost like, teachers, where teachers get paid year round, but they only work X amount of months. So there's different ways you could set up the structure for your payroll. But yes, every season, even in Virginia Beach, where we're 1.3, 2 territories, 6% market share, every season we're hiring.
Okay. All right. So one of the biggest objections I get when I'm talking about Pool Scouts is there are a lot of brands out there, mom and pops or franchises that do this. So how do you differentiate yourself for the owners that are looking to invest, but also for the consumers that are looking to use your services?
Dave, I saw you crack your fingers. Is that you wanting to get in there?
No, that's me getting up in years.
I was like, oh, he looks like he's ready.
Like he's ready to tackle this one.
That's my age, Rita. You may proceed.
Well, I mean, frankly speaking, we know that there's a lot of independently owned operators. We don't consider ourselves to necessarily be in a competitive range with many of them. Unfortunately, when it comes to a lot of the owner operators that many people already have experience with, there's a lot of fragmented work, inconsistent work being done. When you're an independently run, sometimes you don't have either the knowledge as you are coming into the business to be able to really maintain the scalability, whether it's the onboarding of teams or the wherewithal to really be able to market, in a manner that's going to put you in front of the right folks. So that alone, kind of will limit some of the opportunities that they can have. Whereas, of course, as we've mentioned, we do a lot to be able to really make sure we're being proactive in how we get in front of these homeowners. But it's also just the level of professionalism that we're approaching. And when we say Scouts Honor, we mean that. And the way that we mean that, the way that we mean this is in ensuring that from A to Z, from the very first time you called in and you had a conversation with us to determine what your pool demands or needs were, then our technicians showing up. I mean, we have touch points with the homeowner even before they've showed up to make sure we're communicating well. Then they get in front of the homeowner, do their task, make sure we do the little touches, the little things, while we're visiting somebody, even if it's, hey, let's put the flotation devices all in one corner, get them out of the way. It's those things that we really instill in our service that will make a small difference, but a notable one. And then, of course, even after we left, as Dave mentioned earlier, we communicate with the homeowner the things that we've done in their property and home. If we put chemicals in, we had to clean, we had to do some kind of maintenance. Here in Florida, we allow little creepy crawlers, a lot of little mini dinosaurs that kind of fall into the pools. If we had to take care of something like that, that's all being communicated. That you don't see enough of that, unfortunately, in a lot of the businesses that are currently out there. And that's a level of inconsistency that we definitely know we can combat, because we work on a very professional level. I mean, when we show up, beautifully marked vehicle, none of that sketchy white van. It's not going to make anybody feel uncomfortable. It's a beautifully marked, very patriotic colors. The technicians have full uniforms, so clearly they're an employed member of the business. I mean, anything and everything we can do to make the homeowner feel comfortable, we're going to do it. So that's for us. That's where we don't look at that competition, but rather what we do and what we are going to always try to excel at.
And is this model good for somebody looking for, a passive investment? And if so, what kind of employees do they need to bring in order to operate passively?
Yeah, so
go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so they're going to need a general manager up front. You can implement a pool scouts. What you're doing is, with passive investments, is you're trading margins for time. So it's going to take a little bit longer to be cash flow positive. You're going to have a little bit more capital up front to pay that general manager, but 100% is doable. It's going to require 20 hours of engagement from that owner during normal business hours. And with pool scouts, normal business hours, it's almost banker's hours. Banker's hours +1 from 8 o'clock till 6 o'clock is the bulk of the business. So it's very predictable. We don't get a lot of calls on the weekends. If we do, it's an emergency and my pool needs some help. I'm having a party. Can you help? Absolutely, we'll do that. But it can be done, but know that it's going to be a little bit higher initial investment, a little longer to get to cash flow positive, because you're trading margins for
the 20 hours. You mentioned that the owner would still need to be part of the business through the week. What does that look like for them? What are they doing?
Managing the manager could be customer interaction. There's another way to do it with a customer service center that would be even less remote. But I think what we really want to do is find owners that can commit that 20 hours of time to work on their business, but not necessarily in it. They need to be engaged. There's going to be phone calls. It's going to be a number of different activities. It really depends on where the owner wants to plug themselves in. We could hire that general manager or that manager accordingly to make sure they're plugging in where that owner needs to be absent, so to speak.
Okay.
All right. So you touched that it might be a little bit higher investment, but in general, what's the commitment and investment that a new owner should expect?
Rita?
So our range is anywhere from 104 to 136,000 for the business. But if you're going to be looking to bring on a manager, then you certainly need to obviously take into consideration the manager's salary or the expectation needed for them in that year. So the range would likely be about 150, even 175 with a manager in place. But we want to make sure that you also are coming in prepared for the scalability. So that range includes, one vehicle. But if you're looking to be able to expand, and of course you have the growth that we all hope for, you need to make sure that you've got some capital or some funding available for that. As anyone looking to get into a business, they need to make sure that they're well capitalized when they're entering a business so that they can keep injecting or putting back into it. But that's around the range that we would say is on the safer side for one territory.
Okay.
You know, and then just with our experience, I mean, we've been around franchising for 17 years. And so, you know, one of the things that make franchisors successful is the network of franchisees themselves. So can you just talk a little bit about ways that they're able to collaborate and, you know, assist each other, and just maybe tools that are out there for them to take advantage of?
Yeah, Dave, do you want to go or?
100%. So whether it be through the advisory council, the cohort groups, you're going to have, if they're operating like in DFW, you've got different regional that they could access, and then of course through Fran Connect as well, where we're keeping people posted in the know. It's you know, monthly engagement calls. We call them Marco Polo calls. So there's a number of different ways that they could utilize their peer groups.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Anything to add there, Rita?
Well, and I will say, you know, we, again, with all of the variety and all of the different, you know, backgrounds and networks that we have, we, you know, also have we have regional conferences or opportunities for additional trainings. Like, for example, now that we've added on some additional services like vinyl linings, there are new trainings going on. So there are certainly opportunities for them to continue growing. And then we have our annual convention, which is actually a buzz fest because all of our brands get together, including, of course, each individual brand's opportunity to engage. And that's further training, panel sessions, and a little bit of fun too. So it's always nice to be able to have opportunities to share some time with those that are on the same path as you.
Okay, awesome. So how many locations are currently operating, and what's the growth look like? What's your prediction?
So when it comes to locations, it's not necessarily, we don't necessarily operate in like a location basis, obviously, since we're more so, you know, territories and routes. At this time right now, we have 45 franchise owners within 18 different states that we operate out of. And as we mentioned, some of those are very cold weathered locations. And then out of that, we have 74 territories that have been sold in 74 territories open, 96 sold.
Okay.
Anything to add to that, Dave?
That's just spot on. Because
Okay.
we've got multiple brands. I notice I look over here to my cheat sheet. Yes, 47 franchise owners at all walks of life, from warm weather to cold weather markets. As far as projections, the goals to add, we're very selective about the franchisees that we bring on board. So we could push out organic content and have an influx of people, but the key is the right type of growth. So the goal is to add 15 new franchisees, and we've already have 4 on board, and it's really all different types of markets. We're not there's a lot of open areas in cold weather markets, and we got good validation there. Boise, Idaho, Matt Hollis, restaurant, or Panera, 14, managed 14 different locations and wanted to get out, wanted a simpler business and be able to coach his daughter's softball team. Charlie Hook in Hartford, Connecticut. We just brought on board Upper Bucks, a 20-year franchise owner for a restoration company that it exited and wanted something a little simpler. This is a very simple business. It's not rocket science. So some markets that we're focused on is going to be in the cold weather area. If you look at, I know I have the stat in front of me, I need to pull it up, but I believe it was 6 of the top 10 areas for backyard pools were in cold weather markets. We're in cold weather markets, Long Island being one of them. There's a lot of pools in Long Island. And post-pandemic, pools have been put in at a record clip. We saw a 24% increase in pool construction in 2020, and you figure the numbers would dip. No, it's staying about the same. And it's not Florida, Texas, Vegas, Phoenix, where they got pools anyway. That's Des Moines, Iowa. It's Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So those are markets that we're super excited about, and markets that we're targeting.
That's good to
Well,
know.
think about it. COVID put us in a situation where we were locked down at home. So everyone said, if this ever happens again, I want to make sure that we've got an oasis in the backyard
Sure.
and all the needs that we have here. So yeah, brought in high demand, and we love to see it.
So, tell us your favorite franchisee success story.
We love stories.
I like the fact, like I said, the Charlie Hook, who just had retired, was looking for something to do, something he could have fun. The guy is, man, when you take PhD, he's got a giant, he's super personable. I don't think I've ever spoken to Charlie where he didn't smile, but that's been contagious. He's been able to grow his business. And the fact that it's in Hartford, Connecticut, it's not the first place you think of pools, right? And Rita, I'm going to turn it your way and you could bring up one that you had worked with, but I'd say Charlie Hook wanted to find a business that he could bring in some revenue, pay for some college tuitions, and be able to do his woodworking. And he does that in the winter. So Plains Pools builds chairs, Charlie Hook.
Well, I didn't get a chance to work with her, but I will definitely bring up Tiffany Consoli in Raleigh, North Carolina, another market that is, you wouldn't think necessarily would be a hot spot, multiple territories, and has a great successful business in that area. And again, is one of our a strong women-owned business. In fact, women-led really for the entirety of it. So I love being able to see that energy and that drive and that representation as well. Of course, as a woman in business and franchising, I love being able to see, hey, it doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter where you are, you can certainly have a lot of success.
Right. Well, is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to throw in there last minute?
I'm going to add one thing. If you have candidates or anybody that listens to this that would like to learn more about Pool Scouts, it's very, very low key discovery.
Yeah.
It's going to be a series of videos where we're going to take and really educate you on every phase of the model. Starts with the model, move to unit economics, marketing, operations. That's another benefit of having Buzz in our back, underneath Buzz is all the content that's created for candidates looking. It's very seamless to discovery process that's clearly defined, very easy to follow, and one that kind of begins with the end in mind, and that's your candidates. Well, they can't know everything because they've probably never replaced a pump on a pool. You can't know everything, but you can know as much as you can where it's not a leap of faith. It's a hop of faith, and that's our commitment to every candidate.
Yeah. I'll agree, and I'll add to that we know the care that you guys put into the clients that you work with, and how important it is when you're handing them over to us to know that we're taking just as equal care with them. And really, for every person's journey is individual to them, their timeline, their pace, what drives them, what interests them. So that's something that we'll certainly take into consideration. But more importantly than that, when they're getting turned over to the actual team they want to work with, as I call this is the great bamboozle, right? They date us, but then they marry someone else at the end of it all. That team is a high level of professionals that have a lot of experience and knowledge in this industry, as well as franchising, and are also going to take just as much care for them and this important investment, this important decision that they've made in their lives. And I think at the end of it all, that's just as important as getting to us. It's equally important to feel like the people you're now in the hands of are taking good care of you.
We can attest to that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you both very much for taking this time and answering some questions. We certainly appreciate it, and I know everybody that gets to watch this video will find it very informative. So thank you both.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Take care.